Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Sorry that we're running a few minutes late. We're very grateful to everybody who came out and looking forward to hearing from all of you. My name is Eli Sabin. I am the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, and I'm going to start by reading the notice and then have my colleagues introduce themselves, and then we'll have the city present for a few minutes, and then we're excited to hear from all of our partner agencies and community folks. And then at the end, we also have a grant application from the city that we'll hear about at the end of the meeting, and you would have folks sign up to testify, which is excellent. So starting with the notice. Amended Board of Alders, New Haven notice. The Health and Human Services Committee will meet in person on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in Board of Alders Chamber, 165 Church Street, 2nd floor, New Haven, Connecticut, to hear from the city and community partner agencies about preparations on providing services to homeless individuals this upcoming winter season, and also to act on the following item. LM-2025-0530, resolution of the New Haven Board of Alders authorizing the city of New Haven to apply for and accept a Kaiser Permanente Center for Gun Violence Research and Education grant from the Kaiser Permanente Center in collaboration with Health Alliance for Violence Intervention in the amount of $100,000 to support researchers and organizations investigating health-focused approaches to address gun violence and who work closely with communities affected by gun violence. This item is on file and available for public inspection in the Office of Legislative Services, 165 Church Street, New Haven, per order Honorable Eli Sabin, Chair. Attest Honorable Michael Smart, City Clerk. If you need an accessibility-related accommodation, please contact 203-946-7651 or 203-946-8582. In accordance with the City of New Haven COVID-19 policies, masks are now optional. The public may send comments to public testimony at newhavenct.gov. All right, colleagues, if you could introduce yourselves, starting.
Carolyn Kelly Smith, Ward 9.
Sarah Miller, Ward 14.
Camden Singh, Ward 5.
Thank you, colleagues. And now we'll hear from the city. And if there's anybody who wants to testify and hasn't yet signed up, I think Al's there's another sign up sheet over there. You can put your name down and hearing. Good evening. Thank you for being here.
Thank
you could
you.
start with your names and addresses for the record.
Absolutely. Good evening. My name is Tirza Kemp, 747 Mix Avenue, Hamden, Connecticut.
Carlos Lombardo, 165 Church Street, New Haven, Connecticut.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for hearing us tonight, Alders. It's always a pleasure. I'm here tonight first to talk about the work that we're gearing up for our winter plan. Through the Office of Housing and Homeless Services. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. So what I did was I did provide each of you a PowerPoint presentation. And so I'll just start from the beginning. The City of New Haven Office of Housing and Homelessness collaborates with local homeless service providers to provide a safety net of supports and services to individuals, families, and youth experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness. This work extends beyond sheltering to creating pathways to deeply affordable housing options and opportunities that encourage self-sufficiency within a framework of racial justice and equity. We envision, so that's the next slide, we envision a city where homelessness is rare, brief, and does not occur. Our mission is to collaborate with service providers to cultivate an equitable, evidence-based, and culturally informed homeless response system where emphasis is placed on preventing homelessness, providing shelter, advocating for the development of deeply affordable housing, and creating pathways towards self-sufficiency. Our overarching goal is to facilitate the implementation of comprehensive solutions to make homelessness, again, rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. So I just want to kind of go through some of those goals. and how we plan to achieve that. Number one is increase access to non-congregate 24/7 shelter with wraparound services, increase access to homeless prevention funds for families, to decrease entry into the homeless response system, develop robust landlord engagement and relationships and strategies to ensure that people are housed quickly, scale new investments into deeply affordable housing options, encourage state legislators and other municipal leaders to step up efforts to address homelessness as a regional issue, and close gaps in systems of care that lead to disproportionality and disparities in people of color experiencing homelessness or those unstably housed. Currently, these numbers came from Kelly Fitzgerald from our Coordinated Access Network, or what we call CAN. And again, these are regional numbers. The current state of homelessness throughout Greater New Haven, the by name list is 1,196. Our shelter wait list is 346. Males, 296 individuals. Females, 140 females. And our family shelter wait list, there's 11 families on that wait list. And again, this is regional. The Office of Housing and Homelessness Services work closely with our partner agencies. I've got to really shout out our partner agencies. We cannot do this work without them. I have to say, over the last year and a half that I've been in my position, the coordination to me is unlike any other experience that I've ever seen in when we're working with different providers and how we really coordinate our services. We're consistently meeting, we're consistently brainstorming and figuring out how we close these gaps and how we address a city issue that's also a national issue. So what we've done is we've opened 2 warming centers. Well, we will be opening 2 warming centers with additional regional support. I think that's really important because we haven't had regional support in the way that we do have now. And I'll talk about that at our last slide as far as what we're doing for the winter. When it comes to operations, we have the Family Triage Center for families awaiting shelter. We also have the 4 navigation hubs to support individuals during the day. And I did give you navigation hub brochures for your constituents in the event that you do have someone who is experiencing homelessness. We launched 645 Grand Avenue Shelter, which is a 24-hour congregate shelter. That last year we did 270, this year it was 645. I don't know if you guys have been to 645 and really took a tour, but it's incredible that the work that they're doing and consistently trying to increase their services and assisting individuals to access to not just housing or sheltering, but all of the things. So that's reentry services, employment services, behavioral health services, substance use services, whatever those individuals may need. Coordination, we increased our coordination with Elm City Compass on outreach to support unhoused individuals. And so it's consistently pulling in Compass as part of the conversation citywide. And then we added 12 supportive housing units through a grant to Fellowship Place, and that will be up and running in 2026. Our fiscal year 24-25 progress includes 750 households exited programs into permanent housing, 150 exited programs into temporary housing, 313 exited with full-time employment. And so we are tracking. It's not just about homelessness, but it is about making sure that individuals are connected to the resources for sustainability. 185 exited with part-time employment, 483 individuals enrolled in financial counseling. And then we connected 656 accessed medical treatment, 404 individuals accessed mental health treatment, 176 accessed substance abuse treatment, and 123 accessed family counseling services. And so again, it's really thinking about the full picture of what an individual is experiencing. So our cold weather plan for 2026, we do plan on opening November 15th through April 15th. Warming centers still include 180 Center and Vera Church. And our family triage, that's 40 spaces with Columbus House at 209 Terminal Lane. And when I talked about regional warming center locations, Hamden now has a warming center. West Haven now has a warming center. Milford, as well as Shelton and in the Valley area. And so they also all communicate when there are individuals. And we also have compass support in making sure that we provide transporting if an individual is not able to get into one center, but we can transport them to another center. And that is it for my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I just also want to say that we are still consistently funding diversion services, shelter services, that includes 270 Foxen and 645 Grand. We are having conversations with Foxen now about sustainability in the future. We had a retreat just a couple of weeks back to really talk about some of the ideas, who the clients that they're seeing, and how we find a way forward to make sure that we're sustaining that work. We're still continuously funding our navigation hubs, as well as Power in the Shower, which is also a very, very vital piece to the homeless system.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
And no need to be nervous, of course. We're very glad to have you. That goes for everybody. And we appreciate all the work that you do for folks in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions from colleagues? Alderman?
Thank you for the presentation and thank you for all the work that you do. I was at 645, I think it was just last week, and what they've done there is really amazing. Your support, I know, was integral.
Thank you.
My perception is that the situation is getting worse. That's my just impression from my experience in Fairhaven. What is your impression of sort of how we're doing as a city in tackling this challenge? Is that just my experience, or is that reflective of a trend citywide?
It's, you want to answer that?
Elders, it's a pleasure to be here. This is my second week on the job.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's like a nerve there. A great pleasure to be here. And coming after a year and a half, I've seen a lot of change. I understand that being in the city and seeing people hanging out in places where they shouldn't be hanging out is very visible. What I have heard so far from many partners is that a lot of the people who used to be hanging out on the hotspots have been helped, but we have new people coming in. And it's something that I think we all have to have conversations about to figure out exactly what's the issue, where are people coming from, and what can we do? What else can we do? We're having conversations. I'm having conversations with DMAS and DOH and CSSD, DOC to figure out solutions that are more integrated and comprehensive than what we have been doing, and building upon the great work that Teresa and her team is doing. I think it would take a little bit more time to figure out a solution to people who have very complex issues, people who are going through really hard times in their lives, and at the same time, we have competing interests. We have neighbors who are very tired, and we are taking it very seriously. I will be working personally very closely with Teresa to figure out some solutions. And I'm sure Teresa, you're going to talk a little bit more about what we have been doing so far.
Absolutely. And I want to say, yes, it is getting worse. From a national standpoint, I was just looking at the numbers today. I didn't write them down, but absolutely from nationally. And I really think it's kind of this burst after COVID. And the crisis and the complex issues that people are facing have increased. And I think that there is right now a national climate, a political climate that is definitely impacting resources. I think even just the anxiety and the fear that people are feeling, it's showing up in these spaces, such as in substance use and increased substance use, alcoholism, and people kind of feeling a sense of despair. And so we are working collaboratively with many other city departments. And so it's not just the Office of Housing and Homeless Services, but it's our housing administration, it's our economic development, it's our parks department, it's our DPW, it's LCI, and it's all of these instrumental roles that we play within our city, and how do we collaborate to address the issue. And so, yes, it's definitely looking from a national standpoint, the numbers are getting worse when it comes to homelessness, and there are a lot of different variable factors. Some that we can't necessarily control from that national standpoint or political standpoint, but what we're trying to do in the city and how we're looking at it from a different lens. And it's more of a collective lens in addressing. So it's homelessness, it's drug use, it's the open drug use. We know the things, and we know that not everyone who uses is homeless. Not everybody who's homeless uses. And so how do we think about it from those many different lenses?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I may.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's helpful context. And I think the collaboration among partners in New Haven is really to be commended and has moved us a long way. At the same time, it's disheartening to see, and I know it's not just New Haven, I know it's a bigger issue, but to see it, just the numbers keep staying around the same place and new people coming all the time. My additional question is, looking at that national context, and I also recognize that there's no one single solution, right? The causes are many and the solutions are also many. Mm-hmm. Is there a city or an approach or a model of some kind where we're looking nationally, where you see people making more traction than we're making here, that we should be looking to?
San Diego? I've done a little bit of research as far as a national model, and we were asked, I think our partners, especially 270, Foxit, Continuum of Care, have done a lot of work in looking at different national models, but I don't have, it's really trying to just understand what pieces certain cities are doing, California, more importantly, San Diego, and then what we can model here. But there is no one thing that we're seeing. It's interesting because if you Google search what cities have the best homeless response, New Haven comes up as number one. And so I think it's so interesting because the reality is that because New Haven has so many services and resources, we have a lot of individuals that are coming to New Haven from the region, from a regional standpoint. New Haven has incredible services. And so we have to work with our partners, but we also have to work with our surrounding towns, and we have to work with the state to be able to address the issues that are happening here in New Haven.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Alder Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you both for your presentation. Just a few questions. One is, when you collect data on individuals experiencing homelessness, is it collected on a regional level, on a local level, municipal level?
It's a little bit of both. And so I know that Carlos he's only 2 weeks in, but he's going to be really doing, I think, the work on the state level and working with HUD and DEMIS and really understanding that data. For us, internally, I just actually hired our GIS data person. And so we're going to be really looking at our reporting and what our organizations, especially our contractors, and how people are better off from the services that we're providing, but then also beginning to identify what the gaps are. So I would say both. I don't think we can look at data just on one certain standpoint, like in New Haven, without looking at it from the regional level and then also our kind of statewide level.
That's really helpful. And on a regional level, do you have a sense of what the number is currently of individuals experiencing homelessness? I know there's point in time counts and it doesn't always.
Yeah, so it was right here. I'll just reference it again. At the regional, we have the by name list.
Okay.
Yeah, these are all the numbers here.
Okay. And then, okay, great.
And we work closely with Kelly Fitzgerald from the Coordinated Access Network to be able to support us in getting these numbers as well.
Okay. That's Great. And you mentioned that there are 2 warming shelters opening up right now, and you said it's accompanied by regional support. Is that the 2 shelters that you named that were opening up that were new in Hampton and in another location?
Yes.
Or what is regional support look like?
Coordinated access network. And so
Okay.
we work very, very close again with Kelly. That was definitely a need. So over the last year, we've had more regional partners coming to the table to really think about this more holistically. And so, yes, it's working closely with the CAN, and that funding comes from that.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
And I just want to, my final question is, I just want to make sure that I'm reading the data right. So the binding list is a little less than 1,200. The shelter wait list is about 350.
Mhm.
So that gives us a gap of around, so that means the number of spots that we have is around 700 collectively in the region.
Do you know collectively in the region?
The number of
The
shelter
number of
spots?
shelter spots, yeah.
The core of the shelter spots for the region are here.
Mhm.
The Bethel and Spooner House both have shelter. I need to introduce myself.
Please.
Hi,
Thank you.
Eliza Corsi, the Community Services Administrator, City of New Haven, 129 Marble Road, New Haven. Apologize for the double booking tonight. I think what you're asking is about shelters in the region
And the number of total spots.
and the number of total spots. So we certainly have the bulk of them. Bethel, I believe, is around 50. Actually, some of our partners who are here may be able to clarify the exact number. But that is really the primary other shelter. There is also Spooner House. Those are more formal, not just warming centers. The regional support that we've seen grow largely due to the work of the Greater New Haven Alliance to End Homelessness, which I think is a key partner in this work, driving a lot of both the coordination locally as well as the regional supports, has really been instrumental in engaging the other towns in finding ways to expand the services supported outside of New Haven, and held a regional summit, I don't know, a week or so ago, where there were other towns, Woodbridge, Guilford, shoreline towns represented, which we found really encouraging. So definitely want to shout out our partners in the Alliance. But in short, we are holding the vast majority of emergency housing beds in the region.
Okay. Great. I think that's my last question. Just really trying to get a sense of the number of individuals experiencing homelessness, the number of spots or beds in the region, and just seeing what that gap is.
Yeah, and I would also just add that another key piece of the regional work is also statewide advocacy. This issue is really an important statewide issue, and the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness, together with our local alliance, has done a lot of important advocacy work to advocate for a range of different things: cold weather, support for the shelters and many of the providers you see in the room today, as well as permanent supportive housing and longer term solutions. The ask was more than 33 million. I mean, that's ultimately what the need is, and that is something that is a critical statewide need that we will continue, the city will continue to advocate alongside our partners in the work for that state investment. So you may hear more of it tonight from our partners, but I just want to lift up the amount of work that I've seen in my 2 years here to expand that regional work and to expand the advocacy work. Has been really important and impressive.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Smith. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to follow up to Alder Smith's question. So the numbers that we see here, do we know how they compare to what they were last year? I think we did a similar rush hour around this time last year.
We did, and I don't have those numbers, and I apologize, Velma was unable to join us today. So I
No,
kind of
just wondering,
jumped
I
in.
think we probably have it too in our.
The numbers have increased, absolutely. I was kind of taking a look at it, but the numbers have definitely increased.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, it'd be great to just get that
Get that,
information at some point. My other question is about this overarching goal slide, which I can't read anymore, but it was all these very large goals. And just wondering if there is more of like an action plan in terms of like what steps are happening this year to move us toward these goals.
So we do have a strategic plan. We
I remember from last year.
Yes,
that's
I
what
can
made me
resend
think of it.
that, absolutely, I can resend it. When we talk about increased access to non-congregate 24 shelter with wraparound services, we do have a congregate shelter that we were able to lift at 645 that has the 24-hour wraparound access, prevention funds, and so our plan is we are reworking and looking at the budget for 2027 and hoping to be able to increase some of those prevention funds. And so there is a plan that we're thinking about how they're directly connected to each of these overarching goals. Yes, we're gonna work with Carlos and I are gonna be working closely together to scale up new investments and developments and and then working again on a state level, working with our regional partners. So that's part of the larger plan that Eliza had also discussed.
I'll also add in last year's presentation, you did hear us talking about master leasing as a strategy that we heard from our partners that we wanted to explore. I think we did put an RFP out for it last year, and I think have learned again together with our partners that the scale of what's needed to really advance that work is something that we need to revisit because despite working to put ARPA dollars and others together to try to fund that, I think it was something that wasn't necessarily enough to make it workable for our partners. So I think we're in the midst of revisiting that as a strategy, and again trying to figure out what is the city best positioned to do, and what do we need the state for. I think the other big goal that from the strategic plan is the expansion of supportive housing. And I think we are actively working on different scenarios. The state is as well. They have actually I think within a few weeks going to officially announce a new initiative funded by OSAC and opioid settlement funds that we want to make sure that we as a region are taking advantage of. I think ultimately that this expansion of units and the wraparound supports needed to grow supportive housing is a big goal for us, and one that is, again, we're chipping away at it through the investment in fellowship and the bringing 12 units online. We need, we know we need hundreds, and so I think what we're working on right now is figuring out strategies to get 12 to 100 and then 200. So it's not officially mapped out yet, but we are in conversations, as Carlos mentioned, with DEMIS, with BoA, and with our partners to figure out how do we get there.
Okay, that makes sense. I think as you map out that plan and as there's sort of numbers, these are the number of supportive units we think we need to really address this and make a dent in New Haven. That will also help us to support the advocacy as well. So I think the more concrete a story we can tell about both the need, like how many people we're talking about, and what we think we need in the different buckets of services to really meet the need would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna ask one question quickly. So I was wondering just if you could say, so my understanding of these numbers, that sort of the number of people that we're trying to provide services to is this 1196 number. Is that?
So that's the region.
Right, in the region.
Yeah.
And then if there are 346 people on the wait list, that means that 850 people are receiving services because they're not on the wait list.
Well, I think, I don't have a copy of the presentation, but in terms of, you're just doing the math between the shelter wait list and the
Individuals.
what does by name list mean? So that's a wider group of folks with a range of different,
Okay, yeah,
that have not necessarily said they want to be in shelter.
Right. And there's 19 municipalities, so I just want to make sure like we're thinking about it from that standpoint.
okay, and then that number that we weren't 100% sure about, and we'll get back to on is how many people are actually
The increase from last year.
Well, that is one, but also just the number of people who are in a bed and how many beds we have available.
That's 307. It should be locally.
Okay. Got it.
That's
helpful.
Columbus House, up on this rock, 645 grand, 270, plus Life Haven.
Okay, that's very helpful. And is that number higher than it was last year, or are we moving?
We have not increased shelter beds since we brought, the last increase of shelter beds was when Upon This Rock was brought online last November.
Thank you, that's helpful. Upshman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm reading a letter from Fellowship Place, and one data point that's mentioned was 25% of the individuals they serve are over the age of 55, and I'm curious if you could speak a little bit to what you've observed about the experience of our youth who are experiencing homelessness, as well as our older adults specifically. Have both of those numbers significantly increased, and if, to whatever degree you can speak to those two particular experiences?
Do you want to start?
Go ahead.
So I think we've definitely seen an increase in the number of aging adults, is what we call them in elderly services. So up around 30%. And I think what we're seeing in our experience, particularly at 270 Foxen, is folks with complex health needs that are harder to move into more permanent housing for a range of different reasons. So that's a statewide increase, not just our region. So definitely growth in those numbers. On the youth side, I don't have the particular numbers in terms of the amount of growth. Our biggest issue, though, as you I'm sure are all aware, is that Youth Continuum has decided to close its doors. And so really, again, it's our partners at the Ken Kelly Fitzgerald and others in the room here who've been working really closely as an immediate step to make sure every young person that is supported by Youth Continuum finds immediate housing options. I will say, just in terms of our warming center numbers for young people last year, we did not see a huge fluctuation in young people trying to access warming centers last winter. We obviously will be paying really close attention to those numbers, and again are working with our service providers, many of whom are here, to find mechanisms for young people this winter to come inside through our other shelter support systems. It is really important serving young people, under 26. It's a different population, and so we are really eager to identify other options. The state put out a new RFP for the services that were previously being given to Youth Continuum, and my understanding is that will be a relatively quick turnaround on the award at the state level of those funds. The RFP, I believe, was Tuesday. So more to come on that. And again, just a huge thank you to all of our partners on the ground who are really doing the heavy lift of making sure each of those young people impacted by Youth Continuum's closing have immediate support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Altsmith. Thank you for the responses. I think at this time we might have you all step back and want to be respectful of everybody's time who came out. You all have important work to do. We appreciate you being here, and the city staff, I think, at least some of you
We'll
might be
stay.
sticking
Yeah,
around
we'll stay.
for the second item, at least, so if we have new
Absolutely.
questions after we hear from partners, we might ask them along. So at this time,
Okay.
thank you, Al. At this time, we'll call our first member of the public. We have Sylvia Mascariello. Thank you so much for joining us. If you could give us just your name and address.
Sylvia Mascarello, 153 East Street, New Haven.
Thank you.
I brought you this, it was in my purse. This is all the data for the last year for our CAN. And maybe some of the questions you would ask on here. Please don't hesitate to call if you need to get any clarification. It's the last 4 quarters. I was looking up stuff as you were going, but I was thinking, I wish I had that. I do. Thank you. We're all noticing that there seem to be more people in our community who are in need. They're sleeping in public places, they're in cars, they're in abandoned buildings, and hidden in places around the city. That impression that we have is backed by data. The numbers are at an all-time high. I've been doing this since 1995. Okay, I'm the first outreach team. I was with that. So I just want to say that what I'm seeing is crazy. It took everything we had to identify 100 people in 1995. I just need to give that background. It's difficult to report that homelessness continues to rise while resources shrink. While the stock of shelter beds ebbs and flows, the supply has been dwarfed by the demand. Much of our work focuses on meeting the immediate needs of people who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness. They comprise about 2/3 of the people who are homeless. In New Haven, we have little more than 300 shelter beds. There are about 500 people who are unsheltered. About 150 of them are assigned to outreach workers. Our outreach workers have extremely heavy lifts. They must earn the trust of people who are marginalized and traumatized. They must be housing focused on their approach while building trust. This means connecting people to health and medical, addressing basic needs for food, clothing, hygiene, and engagement sites, securing vital documents, social security cards, birth certificates and photo IDs, preparing housing eligibility packets, presenting clients to the CAN for matching when they're eligible, and diverting people to reunite with family and support systems. We're noticing increases in the numbers of seniors who lose their housing due to deaths of spouses or family members with whom they shared rents. People are sleeping in their cars, there's more of them than ever. Unsheltered people who have died because they're outside. In a 4-week period between August and September, New Haven lost 2 people. One was hit by a car and killed. The other died of an overdose. We also, in Milford, had a person die in a fire. And earlier in the year, 2 people committed suicide. Now, that's not all the numbers. We are going to gather that, but the deaths, we're not used to numbers like this. While we understand that there are many unintended consequences related to the numbers of people who are unsheltered, we need help from other stakeholders in the city to effectively use our meager resources. For instance, if there is no pressing safety issue, please do not quickly clear encampments. Consider how we engage with people who report encampments, i.e., first view the area and consider how we can address what the complaint is. It may not be necessary to close immediately. We ask this because each time a person is moved, it becomes harder for us to find and engage them. We lose precious resources engaging them and rebuilding trust. All people have value. Housing is a right, not a privilege. We urge you to work with us to make it through these challenging times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mastrella. We appreciate your time and
Appreciate
all of
you.
your work. Next, we have Kathleen Meaden. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so tired, I almost said good morning. My name is Kathleen Meaden. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Columbus House. I'm also the co-chair of the Greater New Haven Alliance. I wanted to talk with you all about three general pieces. First, what the current landscape is. Second, kind of what the current plan is, at least from Columbus House. And third, what we see as the needs of. Current landscape, statewide, there's been an increase in unsheltered homelessness by 46%. New Haven has seen an 82% increase in unsheltered homelessness based on the 2025 PIT count. The expected gap in beds needed for this winter is 341 in Greater New Haven.
I apologize to interrupt. Is that the increase from last year?
Increase in unsheltered homelessness from 2025 point in time count was done in January. It's an increase from the point in time count from 2024.
Thank
you. The expected gap in beds, the funding is expected to require about $1 million. As you know, the current shelter wait list is 297 males, 140 females, 12 families, for a total of 449 head of households. It's also unknown at this point how the federal funding is going to impact. Federal funding changes is going to impact us, but at the moment, there are projections of a loss of between 30 and 60% of our HUD funding coming into the continuum of care for our permanent supportive housing programs. Columbus House is planning on opening the family triage on November 13th and running it until the end of April. This will allow 40 families, 40 people, including children, to be inside during winter. Last year, the family triage served 140 people during the season. It was 59 adults, 81 children. This year, we are hoping from our main shelter to add some capacity to our beds. We currently have 81 beds in our main shelter. We are looking to bring it up to 100 beds. We are also looking to, we will be adding capacity in the family triage to allow for fathers and children. Last year we were only able to accommodate mothers and children. So we'll be accommodating both fathers and children and mothers and children. In terms of the needs, Columbus House in particular, in order to add those 20 beds, would need about $43,000, $30,000 to add one staff person, and about $12,000 change, almost $13,000 for food to accommodate them. We also recommend at this point that the city start looking at options that are something that the city has not previously looked at. One of them being safe camping, and one of them being safe parking. These are two options that are far better than disrupting and disturbing the encampments, which only cause people to move around. It's not solving the problem. If we can help people have a safe place to be, we're going to actually have some impact. That's all I have.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for bringing up these options. Do you have examples of places where this is operating and operating well that we can look to?
Yes, there's some options. Our new CEO at Columbus House has come from California, where both safe camping and safe parking were things that he was responsible for doing, so he wants to bring it here. So yes.
It'd be great for you, Mr. Chair, if you could provide some articles, whatever information you have to help us learn about it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Thank you, Laurel. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jim Pettinelli. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us here tonight. Thanks for listening and paying close attention to this issue.
Give us your name and address.
I'm Jim Pettinelli. I'm with 150. Jim Pettinelli, Liberty Community Services, 153 East Street in New Haven. We provide homeless and housing services across Greater New Haven as an organization. I'm a colleague of Sylvia Moscarello, who spoke right off the bat. You've already heard two really significant numbers, and they're going to get underlined throughout the evening. And that is the highlight of the severity of the situation that we're in right now. From last year to this year, statewide, we've seen a 46% increase in unsheltered homelessness. In Greater New Haven, that increase is even more staggering. It's 82%. The crisis is driven by many, many factors. But chief among them is the cost and availability of deeply affordable housing. Many of us in the field believe this is not a sudden crisis. It's the result of years of policy decisions that have commodified housing, turning it into a vehicle for profit rather than a basic right. We all bear responsibility for that and for allowing truly the American dream to slip further and further away. So how do we respond? More effectively and more urgently. We must act not only for our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness, but for the staff that we hire at meager wages and benefits, who have to work 2 and 3 jobs just to pay rent. The current system is failing with regard to the affordability of housing. We need bold, aggressive, and yes, probably quite uncomfortable solutions to create affordable units. Some of those options are things like mandated set-asides, radical inclusionary zoning reforms, as of right zoning access for ADUs and SROs. That's just the short list. Right now, statewide, the CCEH, the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness, is starting to shape its advocacy agenda. Right now, we're looking at a 2-pronged approach, and it still is getting some fine-tuning. But there's 2 primary pieces. One is everyone inside, expanding beyond cold weather responses that we currently have to ensure that everyone has access to indoor space, whether it be shelter, warming centers, sanctioned encampments, or housing as available. The first step to that is really advocating for additional funds from the state. Currently, the state funds $4.5 million to support cold weather spaces. What we're doing is pursuing getting an additional minimum $4 million so that we can expand capacity and really start to legitimately offer everyone who's unsheltered outside an option to come in. It's a big, big lift. It's a big, big challenge. It's a big, big ask, but we need to pursue it. The other piece of it is potential preservation funding. Right now, all of us are facing potential cuts or carve-outs from our existing federal funding. We need to be prepared. If we see any cuts, we don't want to lose any reduction, any less capacity in what we currently are providing on the permanent supportive housing front. One of the things that I keep coming back to consistently is proven practice. Research and literature show that active client-centered case management and care across permanent supportive housing programming not only serves the tenant best, but it also provides impressive community-wide economic benefit. The perfect example of this is $1 Million Murray. You can Google it and get the story. This is a person who was experiencing homelessness in Reno, who over the course of 10 years utilized very expensive non-solutions such as jail and hospitals. Permanently housing that person saved him, and it saved his community a lot of money. It's the way to go. It's proven practice. You were asking earlier what models exist. We have the models. It's Housing First, where we move someone into housing and we wrap services around them to support them being successful tenants. I want to close by just saying how proud I am to be part of a phenomenal housing and homeless services sector. Our system works. It saves lives. But, and a lot of my peers and colleagues are going to start rolling their eyes right now because they've heard this song being sung by me many times. Our system works, but it is chronically underfunded and under-resourced. That's not a pathway to success. We are not paid true value for what we deliver. Therefore, we cannot pay decent wages and benefits to a passionate, unbelievably successful, skilled staff. And payments are sometimes delayed, buried in bureaucracy, and this is consistent. I don't want to pinpoint any particular funder. This is consistent across our federal, state, and municipal funders. I just want to thank you again. And I just close with a Harvey Milk quote, that hope will never be silent. And I really appreciate the room being here in support of this issue. And it is an enormous need that we have to start addressing very radically and very differently. And we need your support to really start making that movement. Thank you.
Jim. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. So I hear you on state needing more funding, state, federal, wherever else. What would you like to see the city of New Haven do within our capacity, in addition to supporting advocacy at state and federal levels?
And I think that what we would look for is, as we define that advocacy agenda, we want your voices to be heard in Hartford at the State House. And that has been the case. With the mayor, with Eliza, you have shown up as a city to promote and advance the advocacy agenda. That needs to continue. The other thing, since you asked, is we really do need to start approaching housing and the creation of it in a much more radical, uncomfortable way. I know when I talk about inclusionary zoning, that is a really, really hard, difficult issue. But we've got to start going down that path and dealing with that struggle.
Thank you.
Alder Smith.
Thank you, Mr.
Alder Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Jim. Just one quick question about state funding. Use the number 4. Was it 4 million?
Yeah. So right now, the cold weather
4.5.
funding is 4.5.
But you're saying that if we received an additional 4 million,
Yes.
that throughout the entire state
Yes.
during the winter, everyone could be inside and those
Yes.
facilities would be staffed.
So the numbers that we have defined across the state, each region created a different number to represent what they are seeing in the field. Clearly, New Haven's numbers were the highest. So as we defined it, we defined what our ask would be related to that
For New Haven.
for New Haven.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a percentage that represents what we feel our need is and how we can effectively respond to it. The number is still too low, if you ask me, but it does legitimately get us much closer. And I wanna say this, it's the first phase to that. Because when we look at cold weather and warming spaces, we really do also need to start thinking about how it can be 12 months a year so that we can have extreme weather spaces for people. Sometimes summer months are much more tragically challenging.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you all.
For all your work. Next, we have Walter Harris. We'll come back to Walter Harris. We have Jim Ferralis. Thanks for joining us. Give us your name and address for the records.
Jim Ferralis, 109 Legion Avenue here in New Haven. Good evening, members of Health and Human Services Committee. My name is Jim Ferralis. I'm the President and CEO of Continuum Care. I'm here to present testimony regarding the services that Continuum provides to homeless residents of New Haven in preparation for the upcoming winter season. The mission of Continuum Care is to empower people living with mental illness, intellectual disabilities, homelessness, or addiction to rebuild meaningful lives and thrive in the community. Founded in 1966, Continuum now operates 60 locations across the state of Connecticut, offering a full continuum of housing, crisis stabilization, and support services. Tonight, I'd like to highlight where the impact is greatest, which is our community crisis response and services, otherwise known as CCRS programs. Continuum CCRS is a comprehensive, community-based network that creates sustainable systems of support and housing for adults who are homeless, at risk of homeless, or experiencing a behavioral health or substance use crisis. Together, these programs form a seamless safety net, turning moments of crisis into opportunities for hope and recovery. At the heart of CCRS is our Elm City Compass team, a mobile crisis response that delivers rapid, person-centered outreach throughout the community, funded by the City of New Haven. The team responds to 911 calls involving individuals experiencing mental health or substance use crises, often in collaboration with the local police. When they are not on a 911 call supporting police, they are also doing targeted outreach to the unhoused after hours, often in the middle of the night, when individuals need the help the most. Many of the people they encounter are homeless and in great need. The team provides immediate stabilization, connects individuals with food, clothing, shelter, and links them to ongoing treatment and recovery services. Compass engages individuals at Union Station and actually does transports to emergency shelters and warming centers during all extreme weather conditions and at all times of the evening up until 3 a.m. Each year, Compass serves approximately 1,350 individuals, meeting people where they are, with real hearts, real compassion, and real hope. Sometimes what's needed is simply a safe place to go. So our second program, our REST Center, which stands for Rapid Evaluation, Stabilization, and Treatment, provides that refuge, a place to breathe, stabilize, and plan next steps. REST serves as a crisis stabilization and receiving center for adults facing mental health and substance use challenges. It is a receiving center for anyone who is coming through our crisis center, services, or police. It offers an alternative to emergency rooms, providing compassionate care, immediate evaluation, and short-term stabilization in a safe, therapeutic setting. With expert behavioral health clinicians and nurses on site, REST helps individuals regain control, avoid unnecessary hospitalization, and begin their path towards healing. Recovery doesn't happen overnight. Therefore, Continuum's crisis and respite programs offer short-term, step-down support in a home-like environment where individuals can continue to stabilize with the help of caring professionals. Our clinical team provides ongoing behavioral health and medication services, ensuring that recovery is sustained and not temporary. When individuals have nowhere else to go, Continuum's Emergency House Program, located at 270 Foxen, provides immediate safety, dignity, and hope. On any given day, more than 500 individuals in New Haven are experiencing homelessness. Our program serves up to 100 people daily, offering food, shelter, and compassionate support to help them rebuild their lives. Each year, we assist over 300 individuals in finding stability and a pathway home. And as you heard this evening, at Foxen, nearly 50% of the individuals living there are over the age of 55 and have complex medical issues that often require them to be in a very supervised setting. Continuum's work is made possible through strong partnerships with the City of New Haven and the Connecticut Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. Continuum Care's model is uniquely integrated, addressing homelessness, mental health crises, and recovery through a coordinated person-centered care. And I think a question came up earlier tonight, are there places that this kind of coordinated care happens? And I have sent my staff out to places like Colorado, Arizona, and Oregon. And many of them have a very tight-knit, coordinated system of care where crisis services are at the heart of the emergency response. And so that people can get the mental health treatment that they need, the substance use treatment, get the referrals, and help them be able to move on with their life without having to have the ongoing cycling through the emergency room and back out on the street. We're here for our community, turning crisis into transformation, not for our individuals, but for the health and resilience of our entire community. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us. To ask Alder Miller's question again, if you could, we have folks from the city here, but if there are things that you feel like the city could be doing better, I'd be interested if you have any.
It was interesting. We just met a couple of weeks ago to do a retreat around the individuals that we serve specifically at Foxen. And again, we have challenges there because of the medical complications that many of our elderly homeless present with. These are folks that aren't even able to really go into senior housing because of the needs that they have. And we're trying to work on how to connect with existing services in the community through Medicaid waiver programs, through elderly services, through the area on aging, to get those services in place while they're with us so that once we can move them into more independent living, it will be much more sustainable. So we did a lot of brainstorming around how to bring other partners to the table. So right now the city's been helping us in looking at kind of our elderly services and some of the challenges that we're working with.
Thank you. That's helpful. Thank you for being here. Next we have Patricia Tully. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Start off by giving us your names and addresses for the record, please.
Sure. My name's Patricia Tully, and I'm at 419 Whaley Avenue at the Community Action Agency of New Haven. This is my colleague, Daryl McCoy. He's my outreach specialist for those who are unsheltered in New Haven. We currently run the Homeless Navigation Hub, one of them, in New Haven. And just to give you an idea, we've been doing this since 21, and every year we increase substantially. Last year, which just ended on June 30th of 2025, We were contracted to see 175 unsheltered. We saw 540. In case managed, 540. In addition to that, we had 1,406 utilize our hub who are unsheltered. Now, all of them wanted case management services. So of those, 540 did receive case management. All 1,406 received respite, food, coffee, a safe place to put their heads, charge their electronics. And this year, we just closed out our first quarter. Again, contracted for 175. We've already seen 125. In case managed, 125. Our contract is for $89,000 a year. I have 2.5 staff and a lot of in-kind services for me and my CEO. It's not enough money to sustain, especially with the cuts with the federal dollars. We're not going to be able to see all those who are in need in New Haven this year. And I just wanted to let you guys know we need more money.
Thank you.
I don't know if you have any questions, but I will also say our top 5, eviction prevention, 19 clients were assisted through our client support fund, which is now non-existent. And so we were able to pay their back rent. 16 clients who were homeless received security deposits to become housed. 120 clients obtained safe and affordable housing through our partnerships with the United Way and Liberty Community Services and other partners. We were able to advocate for 43 clients to get approved applications through the Coordinated Access Network with Kelly Fitzgerald. And we also have a financial empowerment center, and of our 540 unsheltered clients, 273 received household budget guidance so they can maintain housing. So those are, some of our services, our top 5 for those who are unsheltered. So if anyone has any questions for myself or Daryl, I'm happy to answer them. We are.
Thank you. Just one quick question. The numbers you gave, were those unique? They're all different people, or is that some?
They're all unduplicated.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What are you hearing from people about what is driving the increase? So are you seeing people who've been on the street for years? Are you seeing people who are newly
So it's
unsheltered?
mental health, it's substance abuse and use, and a lot of it is the skyrocketing of affordable. There is no affordable rent in New Haven anymore. I've had to move, and I have a decent salary. So people, especially those who are on fixed incomes, they cannot afford a rent. They cannot. And this is just for PTS, right? So we run other case management programs. In addition to this, these are unique to New Haven, but we saw another 146 clients who are unsheltered through other programs. So housing is not affordable anymore for those who are in Connecticut. I did see an article that there's supposed to be $3.5 million coming from the Department of Housing for the 14 hubs in Connecticut. I don't know if New Haven's included in that. And then another thing is I do know New Haven released a master lease RFP, which came hand in hand with the case management RFP, which we did submit for. However, because no one submitted for the master leasing, the case management, and we do see that clients that we've served that we've gotten housed because of the large demand, we can't continue case management for the whole year. If we get them housed, we have to move on to the next one. But we see repeat offenders, right? We get them housed, a year later, they're unhoused again. If we have the money to do intensive case management through the year, Daryl's a community health worker, other client or other staff is community health workers. If we could do intensive case management through the year, we can maintain their housing. But we get them housed and then they get out. And now it's a cycle all over again.
And you turn people away.
Who turns people away? Not us.
You did to me.
Thank
You're
you for all your
going,
work
you
and
could
for
be-
sharing
you
your
could
experience.
help me out.
Thank you for everything you're doing for joining us.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
We're very grateful. Next, we have Kellyanne Day. Mr. Lucas, do we have another sign-up sheet?
Hi there, good evening.
Good evening.
Kellyanne Day, I'm the CEO of New Reach. Thank you for inviting me, I appreciate it. We have, many of you, I think most of you know the programs that New Reach provides, but just for the benefit of the public. We provide prevention services as well as crisis services in the form of the Martha's Place Life Haven Shelter and the FISH program, which is food service to the homebound. And we also operate affordable housing, rapid rehousing, and supportive housing throughout Greater New Haven and Bridgeport. I don't want to take the time to repeat what my colleagues have already stated so eloquently. So I will just underline what Jim said, what Sylvia said, and what Kathleen said in terms of the numbers, the increase, and the need. I would like to just bring to your attention a population that has not been discussed tonight, which are families. We see families that are struggling with poverty issues and the increase in rent. So while I know we've been talking an awful lot tonight about serving people with complex needs, which I 100% support, we're increasingly seeing families, individuals, and elderlies who are not necessarily suffering with complex needs, but they cannot pay their rent. They cannot buy food. They cannot take care of their children adequately. And it is not the fault of a system, and I'm not saying our system is perfect in the crisis response, but these are factors that we all don't have control over, but perhaps some of you may be able to make some policy changes or have some influence on. These are economic factors, these are zoning factors, these are rent control factors. These are things that we're jumping in when folks are drowning in the river. We're not upstream trying to keep people out of the river. There are programs, there are prevention programs that have been piloted. There are some programs around the state, but by and large, we are not supporting true prevention when it comes to helping people that are housed stay out of the crisis system. So we have you've heard the numbers, we have such an influx and increase at our front door of our crisis system. We are having a very difficult time moving people out of the system because of the lack of deeply affordable housing, because of the fact that we have not produced enough housing, period. I was today at a housing conference with the Commissioner of Housing and the Governor. That's a fact. We stopped producing. We stopped producing affordable housing for a whole host of reasons that I won't get into. But when you have a system that is clogged and the front door is jammed with folks trying to get in, and you can't move people out the back door into housing, this is what's happening. So again, while I will say our system is not perfect, our system is much better now than it was 20 years ago. We have much more interventions, but because of factors, by and large, out of our control, we're trying to keep up. So I guess what I'm here to say is that whatever we can do to help you affect some change in other areas that are not within our control, but perhaps within your control, please let us know, because we understand them and we want to help, because we get into this work to help people, not to say no to people that are looking for services and housing and support. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. I have one question. So you mentioned zoning, which is something that we do have some control over on board. So I was wondering, Jim mentioned a few things and others, and I was wondering if you had particular suggestions and things that you'd like us to take a look at.
Sure. So I remember 30 years ago when I first started working in New Haven in this space, there were rooming houses. Some of them were awful with terrible landlords. Others weren't so bad. But they were places where people who perhaps didn't want to lock themselves into a lease and a one-bedroom and pay rent every month and turn on the electricity and pay the UI and things like that. there were folks that were living in rooming housing situations. We did away with those. That took away options for people, you know. We used to have the YMCA as an opportunity for people. We don't have that anymore, right? So there are some things that I think we can look back on historically that, again, maybe weren't perfect, and perhaps if they had some resources and some services, but could help to support some of this. And as well as, you know, the zoning issue really needs to get looked at around ADUs and the number of people who can share housing and live in housing, even though they're not related. Those are the kind of things that we need to be able to look at for people. We did a regional convening of all the electeds of the 15 Greater New Haven towns a couple weeks ago. The Coordinated Access Network did. And I had to do a little research because I was setting the stage for the information. And, you know, some of the numbers that I found was 75% increase in rents in Greater New Haven over the past 10 years. 75%. Now, if you own a house, your mortgage did not go up 75%. I would venture to guess your taxes didn't even go up 75%. So if you are a renter in this area, you are in big trouble, and it's only getting worse. And unless we figure something out, as Jim mentioned, the commodification of housing, the corporations that are coming in, and they're setting the price, they're setting the rents, not necessarily the market. When you own 250 units in this area, you're setting the rent, you know, and if you can get that rent, you're going to get that rent. But it drives all the other rents up. Our mom and pop landlords can't compete, or they don't have incentives to keep doing that. You know, their costs are going up, and they're trying not to increase the rents, but they have no incentives to keep their small multifamilies operating, and to support their neighbors in rental housing. So I think looking at ways to support those folks, creating some incentives, you know, I think that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Just one more question, and thank you for all your work, especially at Life Haven, which I've sent many people there, and really, it's had a huge impact on their lives, so thank you. I wondered if you could, through the chair, share the data that you referenced about 75% increase. I haven't heard that figure before, so we can take a look at that. And also any other, I know I meant to go to I think it's the convening you kind of invited me to.
Yes.
So I would anything else from that meeting?
I invited you 2 days before, so that's okay.
But anything else from that meeting that you
Sure.
think we should look at, and would really be appreciated.
And I will say we had great representation from the city of New Haven as well as partners, so, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have BoA Eagle.
I'm here to let you know the severity of these sweeps and the throwing out of our property is real. And it's led by Shawnette from City Hall. She thinks it's her reason for being on earth to constantly harass us, torment us, and legit spoil our stuff out. I have images on my phone where her leading the charge with the police and literally packing people's stuff up instead of letting them pack their own stuff up neatly and orderly and be moving it out of the way. I myself had my property thrown out by Shawnette. She admitted to doing it, but says that she did not give a warning ahead of time, which they're supposed to. There's supposed to be video proof of posting a notice and the removal of the property. First she said they had it, but it took colleagues of mine with UAC to find out that that was a lie. There was no notice post, no video, evidence, anything. It happens daily. Just 3 days ago, another, homeless couple was tormented by Shawnette. The police come running up on them and she's leading the charge. She just goes over above what's going on. It's bad out there. It's worse with the city hall and the police than it is with the young kids that used to torment the homeless. City hall and the police are the problem. I mean, I'm no legal expert. I'm sure having our stuff thrown out, stolen, is against the Fourth and the 14th Amendment. And the Superior Court has backed up us homeless people, saying that we do have the right not to have our stuff thrown out. And something needs to be done. Obviously, the mayor ain't trying to do anything. Sean ain't doing nothing but making our lives worse. That's all I need to say.
Thank you for being here and sharing what you've done.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Next we have Joel Alfred.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Joelle Alford, so thank you, panel, for having me. I am the couple that my friend Bill was talking about. I actually went to City Hall a day prior to sign my name in for services with Velma George and Shawnette James, and I wrote on the clipboard my name, my location, which is I live in a tent on a green. How she returned my call or message is by having her and the police enter my tent to harass me, to offer me services that already been denied of. So, with that being said, the reason why I got connected with City Hall is through the mayor. I went straight to the top. I asked the mayor for help. He referred me to his colleagues, which is here, Velma George, Shawnette James. Without prevail, I've been homeless for 17 months. I'm a victim of financial abuse, now known as domestic violence. My ex-husband stole my identity. I did everything right. I lost my 22-year career at Yale New Haven Hospital, all because I had nowhere to sleep. I lost communications with my children because I live in a tent on a green. Who wants their children to live in a tent on a green with them? Like they said before, prior to me coming here, there's no services for families to keep them together. It's like they want us to be separate. Why do I have to be destitute on a green to qualify to be document ready for all these resources? My career, my family, my reputation is all gone because I live in a tent. All that I worked hard for, I'm a New Haven native, born and raised here, and I can't even afford the rent that these monstrosity property managers are denying us. So they get paid off our denials because we have to pay that application fee. So we need to fix the housing laws, please. I am currently an eviction candidate now due to the fact that my financial abusive husband stole my identity and put an eviction on my housing, all because I wanted a divorce. So now with that eviction on my record in the monstrosity management companies, I don't even get a chance to talk to the mom and pop housing 3-family owners anymore because they're all screened out. I'm on automatic no based on what housing court I was in. The reason why I had an eviction because I reached out to Mayor Elliker. He sent me to his lawyer. So I fought it all the way to the top, okay? I had everything. So the reason why I'm on a green right now is because the city of New Haven told me I didn't qualify for certain services based on my income. I was making over the money because of COVID. So I've been homeless, quote unquote, document ready for since 17 months, but I've been actually homeless since 2020. I've been fighting. I even got an abandoned apartment, made it a home for me and my children. Based on that, they said I wasn't technically homeless because I put the utilities in my name. I put everything, gas, Wi-Fi, all to keep me and my family together, all to be now separate because the city of New Haven failed me as a mother. So I had to do illegal things to be legal, and based on that, I'm not document ready for housing, or to the eyes of the resources, I'm not eligible. I had to lose everything before I even lost everything. I tried to help myself, and I was denied based on my income. So now I don't have any income, who's still denied. Me, because I don't have any money to afford these apartments. And what housing voucher? They're all going to felons that's getting out of jail. And now I'm here as a woman and mother that can't even get a housing voucher because I don't have that. I don't have a felony record. And also, I am a sober woman, never touched this stuff. So when people talk about substance abuse, that's obsolete with me. I am a full-grown woman of God in Christ. I do everything right by the Bible and the Word, just to be thrown away like trash, like they're doing to our stuff that we can't even keep hauling around the city of New Haven. We have to pay to pee. I can't pee past 12 o'clock because this bathroom is closed. Right now, your bathroom is locked right now on this floor. Why? Because that's how it is around here. If you don't have money to pee, you can't pee nowhere. And if you bring your cart or you look homeless, you get ostracized. So where's the one situation here, ladies and gentlemen? Nowhere. So I'm here begging for resources for people who just fell on hard times. Why do we have to lose everything to gain just housing? My mental health, where is it? I was fine. Homelessness causes mental health, okay? People always say mental health causes homelessness and substance abuse. I could take a piss test right now, living on the green. I don't touch nothing. But I'm being treated like I'm less than trash. So all I'm asking right now is everybody stop harassing the homeless or the unhoused people and stop treating us like we're less than, because we all were somebody at some point. A house does not make a person. I'm done.
Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story and what you're going for. And I'm sure our city staff would be very happy to connect with you.
I can't wait, because guess what? If this the city staff that's on my 31 emails, I don't want to talk to them. I have 31 emails to present. If you're willing at the end of this, if they're not up here, I will definitely talk to them. I've been in communications from Ellicott all the way down. United Way, 211, Liberty, Life Haven, Community Action Agency, Columbus House, Family Triage. What's next? Anything outside of that, I'll talk to. Other than that, I don't want to. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
I just wanted to say I'm really sorry for what you've been through.
I'm sorry too, but I'm glad I'm able to advocate for those who are, like she said, a lot of people are killing themselves. A lot of people are going to drugs and drinking because that's the only way they can deal with it. I pray and press and speak up. So if you're willing to have a conversation after this, I'm willing to accept that.
That's what I was going to offer. I'm happy to stay after and talk.
I appreciate that, Sarah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for being here. We're very happy to just talk afterwards and see if there's any way we can help, of course.
Thank you, Levi. I appreciate this. Are we all set here?
Yes.
When you're down.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Billy Bromwich.
Yeah, just a little report I just wanted to share with you that UAC put out this summer. My name is Billy Bromwich. I'm an organizer with UACT, and I live at 49 West Rock Avenue in New Haven. We've heard a lot of different things tonight, and one thing we've heard is that we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of things in the future that need to happen, and there's millions of dollars that need to come in to deal with it. What I want to talk about are some things that we can do right now. Right now, we can do it by the end of 2025. One of those, and you've heard from two of our colleagues from UACT about the brutality that's coming down from the city. And I'm going to talk about that and how we can end that. It's an embarrassment on New Haven the way people are being treated that live outside right now. And I'm going to outline that quickly. I won't take a lot of your time. One is stop the sweeps. That's a saying that we hear all the time. It's gotten to the point where maybe it doesn't have the teeth that it should. Stopping the sweeps it really means stopping the devastation of lives of people that are in these encampments, people that have come together and gotten some amount of safety, some amount of community, and are able to live the life that they can piece together at that time. Sweeping an encampment is absolute back with that. Thank you. Sweeping an encampment is obviously a complete disruption to lives. We've talked about 2 people that have gotten their stuff stolen by the city in the last month or so. There's no policy. There's no policy at all. So you have your belongings outside. You should have the same rights as anybody else by the Constitution to have your stuff, to have some right over your belongings, to know where they are, to be able to get them back if they're taken by the city. At this point, I don't know if you've seen it. I know some of you came out when we had the encampment last fall on the green. Public Works would come out, they would take people's stuff, put it in the truck. Sometimes it's survival gear. Sometimes it's the 0-degree bag that you saved up for months to get because you knew the winter was coming. It's the thing that's going to keep you safe and healthy. DPW doesn't give it. They come down and they put it in the truck, and once it's in that truck, it's not yours anymore. You could point out and say, that is my sleeping bag right there that I need tonight. That is my tent that I need right now. DPW say, it's not yours anymore, it's garbage, we're taking it away. There's no policy to retrieve your belongings. It becomes garbage. And that's not only immoral, that's also unconstitutional. It's a violation of the 4th Amendment. And that's something that we really need to think about. So what we're asking for in terms of the sweeps is we're asking for a moratorium on sweeps by the city of New Haven, starting on November 15th, when the warming centers open. We all know there are still a lot of people outside. UACT goes out and provides food and things outside the warming centers. There are people waiting. It's closed. There's nowhere else to go. There's no more spots. Where am I going to go? If you find a place to go in a warm tent, and then in the morning, you've got somebody coming out from the city with the cops to take that person away, we've got to do better than that. So we need a moratorium on sweeps during winter months. We also need a clear policy. Immediately need to start working on a clear policy about people's belongings, particularly survival gear. You'll see in there people's documents, their important documents, medications, all that stuff comes up missing. We had somebody at the encampment get their controlled narcotics for pain taken by the city. The amount of work they had to go through to get that back so that they weren't in devastating pain a few hours later, it's obscene. And so we really need to work on that. There's 2 more things I'll say, and then I'll let this go. 2 other ways that the city is really not doing right by our unhoused neighbors. There's a lot of them, but one of them is, like Jarrell mentioned, we don't have a bathroom. Between midnight and 7 o'clock in the morning, there's no bathroom. I know for people in this room that are older, I've gotten to that point now, I cannot sleep from midnight to 7 o'clock in the morning without going to the bathroom. Yeah. If you're downtown and you're sleeping outside somewhere, that's the only spot you've got, and you can't get in a bathroom, your option is to hold it, pee on yourself, on your clothing, or go somewhere outside and risk a ticket, getting a charge for going to the bathroom outside. We just cannot do that. And the other thing that's an easy win. So we need a bathroom. I think we need to reopen, UACT's position, we need to reopen the green redesign process for more community input. Right now they've got some bathrooms as part of a cafe. It's not going to work. We need to actually own the fact that we need public bathrooms. And the last thing I'll say is this summer, we all remember how hot it was. There is no drinking water source on the New Haven Green or anywhere downtown you can get for free. It's unbelievable. I mean, that is just an easy, there's so much water. The sprinklers are going off still in the middle of the night on the green. There's so much water on that green. We need to have, by the beginning of next summer, we need to have drinking fountains on that green. We need to have ways for people to be hydrated. You go down there summer and people are just wilting under the sun. We know how bad that is for health. It's an easy fix. So I ask you to consider all those things, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Bill, for all your work and for being here. We appreciate it. Next, we have Alexis Terry. for being here.
My name is Alexis Terry. My address is 680 3rd Avenue in West Haven. I'm a member of UX. I wanted to speak more about the eviction moratorium, the 72-hour notice. First off, the city isn't upholding that. Like, let's say if they do, the city and the police do post a notice at an encampment at 4 p.m. They come back on the third day after 70 or so hours at 10 a.m. Then what? You know, where's the oversight? Like, I mean, they don't even uphold it to begin with, but if they did, like, how can we get a clearer understanding of, you know, they've done what they committed to? So, yeah, so it's like the city acknowledges that question, but never addresses the failure of the commitment from the mayor himself. The mayor was recently seen canvassing local streets with a police task force. On Columbus Avenue, for example, someone was reported an unhoused person. The unhoused person asked him in a reasonable and respectful manner to stop, and he didn't. The person then responded defensively. When the person and the police interpreted the person recorded, and then the police interpreted that as aggression. And now the police are driving up and down on Congress, giving people summons for refusing shelter. Nobody's taking into account the current state of operations for many shelter service providers. Nobody is also taking into account the fact that the case management staff are stretched to their personal and organizational capacity in terms of doing a lot more work with their caseloads with no likelihood of a pay increase in the near future. Organizationally, the service providers are both understaffed and underpaid, and we know that. But that's unacceptable. The quality of services out here leave a lot to be improved on, not 10 to 15 years from now when the emergency and essentially the statewide crisis is tonight. And something needs to be done to address the fact that our neighbors who have been made economic refugees by the city of New Haven have in fact been targeted within the last year by some municipal entities that were put in positions to advocate for our neighbors who live this experience every night. I wanted to mention how many people are becoming economic refugees. Families, elderly people, disabled people, students go for years and years requesting repairs only to be forced out after the termination of their lease agreement. Sometimes after a decade or more of these complaints, because the landlords, usually from out of town, have discovered the legal loophole, the lapse of time clause and statute. So yeah, after the lapse of time of their lease agreement, the landlord could then legally put them out if they decide they want to increase the property value by then doing renovations and charge more rent for the next tenant. People also talk about holistic wraparound care in our services and but our city has to be led by the diversity of the experience of the people active, with that lived experience. A lot of people still confuse complex trauma as something that a person must have done to themselves, like it's a behavioral or karmic thing, but trauma is an injury that happens to people. And people deserve to recover from that. One last thing I wanted to know is why hasn't City Hall made it more widely known that the restrooms are available until midnight? I made it a point to tell people about access to the amenities during the different summer events. I had some help getting flyers drawn up, but why hasn't City Hall done the same? The tiny sign in the window right there on the door isn't enough, and that tiny sign on the signpost on the green isn't enough, clearly. So why hasn't the mayor made a public statement about that yet? That's it.
Thank you for being here and sharing your perspective and experience. I appreciate it. Next, we have Mike Cutler.
Good evening, folks. How are you tonight? My name is Michael Raymond Cutler. I live here in New Haven, where we're at safe space for sleep. Unfortunately, I don't have an address. And also, unfortunately, our mayor, Elliker, is not here tonight. And I've met this gentleman personally at a place I lived at in New Haven when there was a crime incident. It's appalling that he has you guys here, and as I heard Alexis and other women talk about the homeless coalition person that works for the mayor, waste of time. Because I had the same incident last winter with the 211 winter, the cold weather protocol. I was allowed to sleep outside in sub-zero freezing temperatures. So that's what our mayor and our coalition, for the homeless person, the people here in New Haven does. That's not acceptable. We all have to realize we're one paycheck or major illness or catastrophe away from being homeless. It's not about being an addict, a drug addict, a mental health patient. We are one catastrophe away from being homeless. We are human beings. And as a mayor of New Haven, he should have been here tonight, not you people. He should have been here. That to me is appalling because he came out to Dover Street when there was a shooting on Dover and Berry Street before my partner passed away. He came and asked me for our Ring doorbell video to help him solve a crime. But he can't come here and deal with the homeless situation. And neither can anyone on his staff. And then Community Action Agency asking for money. I went to them, asking them for a bus pass, clothes. You know what they told me? Oh, if you have a job. Well, if I had a job, I wouldn't be homeless, would I? How is this acceptable on anyone's humanity? I mean, just being a human being. That no human being should be homeless. And why are we treated like outcasts? And why is the mayor and the governor of our state, and I met Mr. DeStefano numerous times, used to say good morning to him every morning on the streets. I saw Mayor Ellicott here on Elm Street and Church Street, said good morning to him. He didn't give me a spit off his, I won't say it because I'm in a public place. And that's appalling. But yet we worry about Yale students. Worry about tents on the green. Let me tell you, the guy that sells hot dogs by the courthouse? Jack's Hot Dogs? I work for him. I was accosted. And I called New Haven police. Not once. 15 times. Not a cop showed up. How is that acceptable? Because I'm homeless, I don't matter? I think I said enough because I listen to all the people wanting money and all this other crap and wanting their praise. But there's no resources out here. I have a heart monitor in my chest. I'm battling pneumonia. Guess what New Haven Hospital gives you for resources? What does New Haven Hospital give you for resources for help if you're homeless? You know what it is? Your discharge papers, a list of shelters and food pantries. I could do that on my own through Google. There's no help. But we want a mayor that wants to get all these nice little fancy apartments for the Yale students that were, those that can afford it. You know how I ended up homeless? My partner of 3 years, his sister lives in a condo in Brantford. She owned a house on Dover Street that was ready to be condemned. Should have been condemned. The city was fining her. I cleaned up the backyard so she wouldn't get fined. When he passed away, I drove him in his own car while having a heart attack. She sold the house while I was there. I didn't want to go through the eviction because that makes it harder for you to get a place. But like I said, we had a shooting over on Dover Street. Our lovely little mayor, Ellicott. When he wants to praise, he's on TV, Channel 8. I know what Channel 8 is. I know a lot of reporters. Keith Kuntz was one of my regular customers that stopped shop back in the 90s. He lives in Woodbridge. Our mayor needs to wake up that we are not discardable. We're not trash. And instead of you sitting here tonight at this hour of the night, he should be here. Where is he? Home, comfortable with his wife and children? I think I've said enough. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but you absolutely matter to us and to...
Oh, no, I don't matter to you, because you know why? I'm twice certified EMT in this state, okay? I go to Yale New Haven Hospital, I was just there last night with my pneumonia. And I let them know, don't think because I'm getting state welfare, medical insurance, that I am one that, you can just dismiss. I did 2 ER observations at Yale. My cousin, Charlie Hershaft, of 54 years, was the marshal of Guilford Fire Department. So just because I may be a little unshaven, disheveled, I'm still a human being. And at least me. And let me tell you, your family will disown you quicker than a stranger will. Let me tell you, at least I may be disheveled. But I worked also for DCF. When 9/11 happened, guess where I was working? Department of Children and Family Services in Bridgeport. Where's our mayor tonight? Home with his wife in front of the TV and the fireplace. That's unacceptable. What, is he better than us? How did he get here?
We appreciate you being here and sharing.
I appreciate you giving me the time, and have a great night.
Thank you. We'll be here afterwards to try and talk about revenue purposes. The last person who's signed up is Eric Mastriani. I think I maybe had to step up. So if there's anybody else at this time who would like to testify, please come up. Yes, sir. Thanks for being here.
My name is Roger Atlas, and mine's a little bit more complicated. This police department that you have here, the mayor didn't even know his name at the debate with Roscoe. He just said the chief, he didn't know it was Jacobson. His police department has, because of being homeless, I'm homeless because of them. Because where I was living on Whaley Avenue, they decided to create me as a target of gang stalking. I don't know if any of you ever heard of that. Okay, I have some debilitations that they exercise on me every night with my hands and whatnot, and other parts of my body. This is the most disgraceful thing anybody could have happen to them, because it's not God that's doing this. It's people that think they're God that's doing this, and they're capable of doing it. Our police department, as well as our Yale police and security people do this. God knows how many Yale students are probably having the same issues physically as I'm having, and have no clue what it is. But I do. I know it's happening all the time. I tried to get into Ellicker's office. I kept bringing license plate numbers of people that park in front of where I live, and I've tried to go to Lieutenant Lisa here. He's supposedly the supervisor of the green area, and they don't seem to think that they have to stop invading in me. I would suggest that you all read up on this stuff and how these microwaves and all these other things can really hurt you from head to toe. I'm really, really tired of this. And the other thing is I had a cat for 16 years, which was a service animal amongst best friends. This police department, this detective department, created a copy to it, however you want to say it. And my cat was stolen with their help, by Bobby Joe Evans, who runs a cat thing out there in Northford. I just solidified it the other day, and this police department, once again, the detective division here is racist. This massive group of Hispanics at this police department are racist. And I brought this to Ellicker's secretaries, and man, he could care less. I used to live 4 houses from him in East Rock, and I don't understand. I'm so grateful to have this time. Maybe people could put a little something into this police department here. They're hideous, disrespectful, and I'm a musician. I play with some of the best acts from the Allman Brothers to present. And I can't play some of my instruments now because, and this is what they attacked me on. So we're creating a lawsuit on this as hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to get there. But this is just, and last but not least, they put a GPS chip in me when I was in the hospital. I actually was held prisoner there in a emergency room. I don't know what this emergency room was. It was 4 rooms. And if I were to get up from the bed that I was there for medical reasons, by the way, a buzzer would go off and had to use the bathroom. It was just me and a TV, that's it. And it's not the only time this has happened there. This police department can do this to you. Do you like that? Had it happen several times. I don't go to these hospitals here anymore. I go to Milford, or I go to Hartford Hospital, or Middlesex. I will not go to Yale, St. Rayfield's for the rest of my natural life. Please talk to this police department, get control of these savages, because they're effing animals. And I know that they're doing this to my colleagues out here. Same thing. I don't know if they have what I have, but I know that they can hear me tonight, and the things that they're doing to me need to stop. They need to get my cat from the people they help obtain my animal, and he's on this person's TikTok. It's not there. No, I want him back, and I also want my life back. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on this item? We're gonna leave the public hearing on this open and may come back to the issue at some point soon. But if there's nobody else who wants to testify, we're very, very grateful to everybody who came out from the city, sharing the work that's going on from City Hall, from our incredible partner agencies that are working so hard every day to provide services with not enough resources. Thank you for everything you do and for your advocacy as well. We appreciate, the urgency of the message from everybody who is here, and we hear you. And for the folks who came out, also who are looking for help and services, we will be here afterwards, and city staff as well, to try to see any way that we can assist. So thank you all for participating in this workshop. I think that we'll be happy to talk with you after the meeting, if that's all right. Thank you. So our second item on the agenda is a grant that we appreciate city staff sticking around for as well. If there's city staff to present on this, we would appreciate that. Good evening.
Oh, he is helping somebody.
Yeah.
I'll stand in.
Okay.
All right, good evening. My name is McKenna Booker, 25 Tampa West Bridgeport, coordinator for the Office of Violence Prevention of the City of New Haven.
Hi, my name is Katrina Nelson. I'm a researcher at Yale School of Public Health. My address is 61610 Nash Road, Guilford.
And thank you for having us here tonight. And as you guys know, we are here to testify in regard to the Kaiser Permanente grant with Javi as well. So the slide deck that you have before you, we'll start off with background and context. New Haven experiences a disproportionately high burden of firearm violence, with rates several times the state average, despite representing only a small share of Connecticut's population. Since the establishment of the Office of Violence Prevention in 2021, the city has made important progress, particularly in reducing non-fatal shootings and shots fired calls, mainly through a coordinated multi-pronged strategy. However, violence remains a persistent challenge. Homicide rates have not significantly decreased, and many residents still report unsafe. Traditional approaches that focus only on individual injuries miss the broader community level ripple effects that destabilize neighborhoods and institutions. This funding opportunity proposal builds on the gun violence problem analysis that we recently conducted and aims to address both proximal and root causes, positioning New Haven to not only sustain progress, but also build long-term community resilience. Yeah, no, you're right on.
That's right on? Okay.
Yep. But we can move on. I mean, the disproportionate burdens mainly is the biggest highlight here, being that 3%, New Haven is home to, no, I'm sorry, but 3% of Connecticut's population owns 12% of firearm homicides, 17% of non-fatal shootings, and violence here, the violence rate is 7 times higher than the state average as a whole. And we're conducting this based off of the data that was informed by our GVPA, otherwise known as our gun violence problem analysis. And as you've heard here tonight, the community is impacted not just by some of the tragedies and overall inconveniences, but ultimately violence and gun violence especially. So the partnership brings together Yale University, specifically Yale School of Public Health, academic and technical expertise with the city's on-the-ground leadership within the Office of Violence Prevention to build long-term local capacity for violence prevention efforts. It's not just about data, it's about equipping the city and community organizations with tools, training, technical assistance, and infrastructure that they need to lead the work themselves. By addressing historic tensions and fostering shared responsibility, Yale provides and assists targeted technical assistance, while the city and community-based organizations shape priorities and action. Together, the plan is to create a stronger, more equitable, and sustainable foundation for reducing violence in New Haven. And with this, the main idea here is to continue to take a community-centered approach along with the trauma-informed and public health approach within our community violence prevention ecosystem. So the budget, as it will be spaced out with $100,000 over 2 years, correct? Yeah, so that will be distributed mainly for capacity. This will not go out specifically to community-based organizations as other funding opportunities have led to. This will be mainly for building on organizational and human capacity. With this, it'll be spaced out between myself, Dr. Katrina Nelson, Dr. Carrie Bison, and Nelba Marquez Green, the 3 representatives from Yale School of Public Health, and myself from the Office of Violence Prevention. Myself and Dr. Katrina Nelson are the co-PIs or co-principal investigators here who will lead the initiative over the span of 2 years, mainly to design and evaluate these interventions, as well as me at the helm leading the cross-sector collaborations with law enforcement, our community-based organizations, New Haven residents, as well as social services. My main charge is to coordinate and implement the firearm injury prevention efforts, with Yale School of Public Health backing the data and technical assistance. So moving on to purpose and impact. The purpose of this project is to strengthen New Haven's municipal and community capacity to evaluate and advance violence prevention initiatives. We'll develop a central city-level data system and standardized community-centered measures that integrate root causes, program impacts, and lived experiences. This foundation will enhance monitoring of violence prevention activities across community-based organizations, align municipal and community priorities with measurable public health outcomes, and address historic inequities through shared leadership between the city and Yale. The impact of the overall project will enable near real-time reporting on firearm-related offenses and related factors, improve coordination between municipal agencies and CBOs, foster stronger community identity and safety resilience. By embedding equity and lived experience into data systems and decision-making, the initiative ultimately will reduce duplication of efforts, which we see all too often, maximize resources, and improve quality of life for New Haven residents as a whole. This collaboration between New Haven's Office of Violence Prevention and Yale School of Public Health will also serve as a scalable, evidence-informed model for other small and mid-sized U.S. cities, expanding the national evidence base for community violence prevention and intervention services. So with that, very short and sweet. I know there's been a lot of time taken up tonight, but we can open it up for questions should you have any.
Thank you so much, and thank you for staying to present this item to us. I guess I just want to start off with the overall question. I just want to make sure I understand. It sounds like the main work that's going to be carried out here is around data collection and sort of analyzing work that's happening in the city. Is that right?
Yes, in addition to assessing what our community-based partners are already doing, seeing where we can evaluate that work and how we can lift up what's already being done and build upon that.
Great, thank you. Questions from colleagues? Alderman Miller.
Sure, thank you for the presentation. I wondered if you could talk about the Yale role. Is this an existing partnership with Yale that we're building on, or it's a new one to be facilitated through the grant?
So to start, we already have an existing partnership with Yale through other funding opportunities, but in funding opportunities and in kind as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this will also build upon that, but if you want to add to.
Sure. So I'm part of the Firearm Injury Prevention Initiative at the Yale School of Public Health. That's led by Dean Ranney, who's the dean of the school. And there is one, so part of her sort of drive, she's been around for about a year and a half, is to improve and sort of heal the relationships, as we've heard tonight, between Yale and the city and the local population. And so this is actually the second initiative grant that we've applied for together. The first one is they applied for, and we were a sub for with the state.
With the Department of Public Health. Yes, the Firearm Injury Prevention Grant. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was recent also. It was like 2 or 3 months ago. And it was similarly involved providing capacity building to local community-based organizations that were dealing with community violence and different aspects. Eliza, you want to expand on that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately we within all of our CSA departments are working on ways to sustain the work. And as you all know, the work of the Department of Community Resilience it's our newest team, the Office of Violence Prevention, relatively young team. And so one of the critical pieces of sustaining the work that's largely funded through the Bureau of Justice, BJA, is administration. Bureau of Justice.
Assistance, yeah.
Assistance, okay, is making sure that we can show our impact, right? And so I think what we're always trying to do is leverage partnerships to be able to show the work that our team is doing in partnership with our community-based organizations to reduce gun violence and support individuals impacted by it in a range of ways. And so I think ultimately we've been working for a number of months now with with Dean Rennie. Her team is closely involved in the Community Advisory Board of the Office of Violence Prevention. And so really what I think we're working to do in the partnership is ensure that we are building an ecosystem that is taking this multi-pronged approach, really looking holistically at the range of services and supports to reduce violence in our community. And we welcome the opportunity to partner with a range of different partners, including the Yale School of Public Health. They really, I would say, approached us, took the lead on this grant, which again, we have quite limited capacity within CSA. Office of Violence Prevention is an office of 2. And so really having partners like the School of Public Health to help support and advance the work that our small teams is doing is really valuable. So we welcome the opportunity and appreciate their support so far.
Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up. Can you just explain concretely what you're actually doing as Yale School of Public Health
On this grant,
on this project, in this partnership? Like what are the services or supports being provided to the city as part of the partnership?
Yes, so I think the hope is that the city and specifically McKenna will be doing a lot of the work, one-on-one work with the CBOs, and will be providing sort of like consultant support. And so I see that as, so the project has 2 aims, right? This is intended to be really kind of I almost want to call it a planning grant, with another grant that would come later, potentially from Kaiser or from another funder. And so this has 2 aims. The first aim is around data infrastructure. It's around understanding where each CBO is at in terms of collecting and measuring outcomes that could give insight to the work that they're doing, and then kind of identifying them on a continuum of readiness in terms of their data infrastructure. So data systems, ability to collect data, like human resources trained in data collection. So the first aim is really kind of an assessment. And then the second aim is around identifying collectively as a community the measures of success beyond just the physical injuries and mortality counts. And so that's where my background, for example, is in social determinants of health. I can start helping in those conversations around what are the ripple effects of the violent events and how can we help prevent them, measure them, and then help prevent them. And so that's kind of the second part. A third future grant would be to put that infrastructure in place, potentially some kind of data system at the city that would allow them to collect some standardized outcomes across CBOs, but that would require more funds to put into place. Carrie Ryson, who is sort of the senior investigator on this project, she comes from UConn. She started the UConn Arms Project. She has a dashboard for firearm injury mortality across the state. And she has a long history of being a victim advocate, and she was associate professor there and then came on as a senior research assistant or senior research scientist at Yale. So she will be providing sort of some of also the data heavy specific to firearm injury prevention expertise.
And just to add another note to kind of connect the BJA piece and the data and outcomes and measurable things that we're going to build upon currently is one of our initiatives in OVP as of right now, which is funded through BJA, is our PRESS initiative, the Pathway for Reintegration Engagement Strategy and Support, where we're working with our CBOs right now, collecting all of our measurable outcomes currently in Apricot, which is our cloud database, where we're monitoring all of our PRESS participants who are eligible because they have firearm-related offenses or they have been directly victimized by firearms. So this will help build upon those efforts as well as expand even further.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I guess I'm just wondering what the timeline is for hearing back about the grant, or
the anticipated start date is December of this year, so we should be hearing back relatively soon.
Okay.
which you'll be made aware as soon as we know. But given the unprecedented times, things could happen, right? Of course.
Fortunately, it's not federal.
Right, so it could be, fingers crossed sooner than later.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for staying and for, it's exciting.
Thank you guys.
Are we good now?
Yeah, I'll give you an update.
Good to go.
Off the record. We have updates for you.
Okay. Understood. Thank you. We will now hear public testimony on this item. If there's any members of the public wishing to testify on item 1. Second time, are there any members of the public wishing to testify on this item? And third time, are there any members of the public wishing to testify on this item? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to close the public portion of the hearing?
Second.
Being moved and second. All in favor of closing the public portion of the meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public portion is closed. Do I hear a motion to move the item?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a move and second. Any discussion? I guess I'll just say that we are grateful for the city's work and for the partnership with the School of Public Health and the creative approach to bring more resources into the city to study, obviously one of the city's most important challenges that we all hear about from residents and neighbors all the time. And we hope obviously we secure this funding and can use it to continue to learn more about how to improve our services. So thank you for your work. Any other discussion? All in favor of moving item 1 forward to the board, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item passes. And we have held open the public portion of the hearing for our workshop. We may bring folks back in at some point. I don't know if colleagues want to add anything in discussion before we adjourn, but I just wanted to just say again how grateful we are to everybody who was here and for colleagues for being here. Obviously, one of our most important roles on the board of Alders is to listen to folks in the community, and I was grateful for the opportunity to do that tonight. Thank you, Alder Miller, for suggesting that we have the workshop. And obviously, this is an ongoing conversation, not just about listening, but also using our roles to try to take action to help folks in our community. So thank you all for being part of the workshop. Thank you to our city staff for jumping in to provide help, wherever we possibly can. And we look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything, but if not,
I'll just add, Mr. Chair, that I think the numbers are really alarming and we need to feel alarmed and respond appropriately. So I think I'm glad that we'll leave it open and think about what other information we can bring to the table to help inform our work as a collective.
absolutely. The urgency is incredibly real right now, and very, very upsetting to hear the huge increase in unsheltered homelessness that we're seeing in the region over the last year, and just going back 10, 15 years with the rent increases as well that people are facing. So we appreciate everybody being here and look forward to future discussions. With that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Hearing moved and second. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We're adjourned.